Hey, everybody, welcome. Good morning to the Wade and Carter Show without Ash here, and he'll be here in just a minute. We're trying our best to get him up and running. Want to welcome you into the program. Hope all is well in your world. Welcome to the Atzenhofer studio, where we're live 5 days a week. Very fortunate to have a benefactor such as Atzenhofer and the Atzenhofer dealership. I saw a Kia K5 yesterday. Nice little car. It's white, most common color for a car in our country. And it was gorgeous. And can you do that? Just hit Ash. That ain't how it's going to go. There you go. And we're trying to get Ash online. And Cody's over here. Now, you can't see the commander. He's off screen because that's how we like him. But if it wasn't for Cody, I would be having some semblance of a meltdown at this moment. I admit it. Yeah, he's just giving me the flying salute over there. I just don't deal well sometimes with people and quite often with technological problems. I want to come in. I'm being facetious. I'm the talent. That's the word for this in this business, which is so, as you can tell, a loosely strewn term. But I'm the talent. I want to come in, do my thing, opine, mostly in jest, in fun, be right, sometimes begrudgingly, 97.5% of the time. When I'm wrong, you guys know I'm the first to go, yep, I was wrong. I do that. But it does normally just work, and it's not working. So let's do this. There's Ricky King from California. Ricky, thank you, my friend, for picking us up at 5 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. For those of you that join us daily here, you get to sleep in 2 hours compared to Ricky Champagne King. Greg Garcia, Scott Snow, Scott Tomko, Bobby Leister, Tammy Keeling, Scott Tomko, he checked in twice, Lisa Poole, Linda Chris. Let's see, Crystal Map, hello, friend. Matt Boucher, there's Marina. Marina, I'm not saying this was Ash's fault. I'm just saying we're going to blame him.
Can I say it's Ash's fault?
Yeah, sure. Marina's in. There's Zach. Hello, buddy. Zach Smith, Mark Kurtz. Hey, bud. Ash is over there waving like somebody wants to see him. So I'll just, I'll go here and add him to the stage. Now, are you there, my brother?
Huh? You got me?
He's there. That's about as insightful as he's going to get. Hey. Yeah, I'm here. Put down your martini and talk to me. Feel like I'm doing a show with Dean Martin's ghost. The Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerland Feed. This is your cue to be quiet. For everything you need, there's Deerland Feed. It's 77 degrees under what will be sunny skies all day in Victoria, Texas. That's Texas for you people in California, with a high today of 93. Deerland Feed inviting you to come in. It's still a good time if you need to touch up your Balon pre-emergent application. It's not a bad time to do it. And, I'll be honest, I forget about the seasonal application of Balon because I don't have any weeds left. In the backyard, there's a few. I have an expansive backyard. By and large, it looks like a beautiful, St. Augustine yard. But out in the middle of the backyard where the pool ought to be, there's a spot there that there's like a broader leafed grass, but it seems to grow at roughly the same speed as the St. Augustine. The problem with the weeds is God made the weeds to flourish. So you can mow your yard and the next day, boom, you've got huge weeds. Ricky King says he's trying to get back to Texas as quick as he can. Scott Tomko, only a half inch of rain here from Bertha. I think we're early. Ash, what's your spidey senses saying to you about Bertha and future rain?
I think Bertha's done.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, all I
In
can
fact,
say is
in fact,
those.
the National Weather Service is
You
not
sound
issuing
terrible.
anything
Terrible.
else on Bertha.
I'm going to tell you this, and I'm telling you this with love, because I think that a goal is merely a dream with a deadline. If you don't have a better microphone by Tuesday, you're out. Out. I'll let you have Monday to work on it. You're out. Get someone on it. Someone at that wonderful university works in the AV industry. Get them to your hut before Tuesday.
I don't know what the problem is.
Well, I know what the problem is. Procrastination. It'll drive.
Nothing to do with procrastination.
Well, you've been there almost a week. I mean,
we could adjust the board and see if it does.
All right, take the shot. Bye.
That would be so cold-blooded because I've got nothing to talk about.
Exactly. Well, here, let me.
That's a solid point. He says Balon is great for a city yard, but it's a bit pricey on acreage. I've always wanted to have a place, and now it would be out of necessity because I'm just honest. I'm too old to manage something like the 2-4. I just don't have time to shred and deal with all that land. But I always wanted to have, like, in my mind, it was 10 acres. In my mind, it was a rectangle, but it was roughly square where you drove in.
That would be a square.
Well, actually a square, of course, is a rectangle, but you at the street level, all you would see is a nice gate landscaped that lets you know that behind that native looking scrubby area, that there was something nice back there. That there's got to be something back there. And I wanted to be able to come through that gate and kind of go to the left and then go back to the right. And all of a sudden, the canopy of trees is up to where, like, you could ride a tractor and mow underneath them. But they're still not landscaped. They're just trees out in the property. And then you get to the house and you've got, say, roughly an acre, and maybe it even has an odd shape to it, like a where the yard itself comes off like a flower bed, a big curved front edge, not just a square deeded acre in the middle of the property, but it's kind of like the lawn kind of goes out onto the property until it stops. I've always envisioned that because I love, as I've gotten older especially, I love the landscapes. And I like working with the land. I would love to have a xeriscape with purpose, chaotic purpose.
Where there's escape means no work.
Well, no water. Xeriscape actually begins with an X, and xeriscape means minimal water, and it also means mostly native plants. There you go. Matt Boucher says, I answered hundreds of questions for ranchers, weekend warriors in my career. But I know I paint a picture there that Matt can relate to, where you come in and you've got the native grasses and things that are growing in your flower beds that and maybe seasonally, there's Bruce Woods checking in. Where are you at today, Bruce? But you check in with some seasonal color, little pods of impatiens in the spring or whatever. Anyway, I'm not trying to come off as metro. I'm just saying it would be fun to have that.
I fact checked you.
You would never golf again.
You're correct.
Thank you. Yes, you fact checked me. See, I did 3 years of architecture school, and architecture, there is such a designation as landscape architect, and I found those guys oddly curious. I mean, they were just really curious people, and they had real purpose in their. It's an art, it's to lay out a aesthetic, a flower bed or a landscape around a home. When I drive down a street, the first thing I look at, the curb appeal to me is the landscaping. I see houses all the time, especially in Terra Vista, where so many people have the grass just goes right up to the house. And I'm like, that house would be so nice if you could put like a small crepe myrtle over there and put in some purple sage. But people are lazy. They're lazy.
No, they're working 3 jobs to make ends meet, so they don't have time.
Well, then don't move over there. Live where you can afford to live and make a difference. I think about
it's just kind of like our conversation yesterday with Peter McNally and how people just, they want to live in New York, but they can't afford it. I came up with a great analogy last night, talking with Marina. I think next time I go,
is in Thailand.
Yeah, next time I go visit New York, I want Mindani to pay for me to stay in the most expensive hotel because I deserve it. I may not be able to afford it, but if I'm going to be in New York, I should be able to live or stay wherever I want to. And It needs to be affordable for me. So Mamdani needs to pay for it.
We should all go and be able to stay at Hotel Emma for the price of a Motel 6. Callie Farmy says, my opinion, don't have a lovely entrance that tells the passerby that something lovely is back there. Have a crappy beat up gate. Keep the beauty to yourself. That's why I make Dawn wear frumpy clothes and no makeup in public. I don't want people to see what I've got back there. Bruce Woods working on bringing indoor plumbing into an older couple's home. Way to go.
There you go.
Quality guy.
We worry about our first world problems, and he's still solving third world problems.
Absolutely. You're a fine gentleman, sir. Proud to call you my friend.
I went by the Wade and Carter water plant yesterday.
Did you? How did it look?
It needs a little mowing, but they were out there picking up trash.
I try to give the city a little bit of a break. And like, for example, the city gets a bad rub. So I mention this when I can. If you're driving along the feeder road to the loop for 463, I think it is. If you're driving along that feeder road and you don't appreciate the grass or the trees need to be trimmed or whatever, just know that's not the city of Victoria. That's TxDOT. And you can feel free to reach out and chastise TxDOT. Ash, I wanted to bounce something off of you it's not on any of our notes, and I don't think we've really spoken about it. So I just wanted your fresh perspective. But you've been to the Smithsonian, right?
I have not. I did not have time to get there.
Oh, that's right, because I remember there was just so many bars. When I
was there for convention.
Yeah. Well, you had to.
Unlike the insurance industry when it goes to DC.
Sure, it's all about tourism, but
it is.
The Smithsonian has really come under some scrutiny lately, and even and especially by our own Michael Cloud, who I applaud. They questioned the curator the other day, and it's this woke, white, gray-haired old woman who basically said that the Smithsonian, she didn't basically say this, she did say this, that the Smithsonian is trying to move away from the white Anglo mystique of, that the Anglo person founded this nation. She's saying that we have a history, and if we don't study that history, we're doomed to repeat it. And she points out that that narrative of America being so good is you've got to look at both sides of the coin.
She wants the caliphate to happen.
Yeah, she also. It was interesting. They lump in D-Day, December 7th, 1941, July 4th, and now J6 as all these significant dates in our country. Somehow the insurrection that was not has gotten thrown into the mix with June the 6th, December the 7th, 9/11, and July 4th. And I mean, it's just a huge joke. And Michael Cloud was one of the ones to call her out and said, I just noticed that in our 250th year, in July of our 250th year, there's not one display in the American Museum of the Museum of American History about the Declaration of Independence. Not one.
How can you celebrate 250 years of this country without the documents that founded this country?
You just answered my question. You can't celebrate it because America should be ashamed of itself. That is her position. America, the July 4th, we celebrate that, but you're not looking at the big picture where we came in, we used slaves, we oppressed Native Americans. That is her take. That is what she, I want to say, was purporting. I don't expect her to work there very long. When President Obama, to a degree, initiated this worldwide apology tour of everything America's ever done. He went to Japan and he apologized for bombing them. He didn't go over there, and they don't come over here and thank us for the transistor, but was it a terrible thing? Yes. I can remember as a young person when the war wasn't really, relatively speaking, that far behind us, a lot of people my parents' age believed that dropping the bomb on Japan actually saved lives on both sides.
Well, think about it. You were born
62.
You were 17 years after the end of World War II. Not quite.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's not even a generation removed.
Yeah, no, I agree.
From the war.
Yeah, Lisa Poole says that wasn't appropriate for kids. There's lots of stuff. The last time I was at the Museum of Natural History, everything in there that alluded to the origin of any type of species, it centered all on Darwinism and evolution.
There's a problem with folks like her. They're trying to apply the morals of today, and society has
evolved,
and we understand that things that happened, weren't right at the time. They weren't perceived the way they are now. But to try to apply the morals of today retroactively to the time is absolutely ludicrous and idiotic. You can't do it. The whole world was in a race to colonize the world.
Right. I mean, that's what I asked you.
The Spaniards were doing it. The English were doing it. The French were doing it. Do the English
apologize all the time? Do the English hate themselves? Do they duck their heads sheepishly when they pass a black person on the street with an English accent? It always tripped me out. I've been to London, and a black guy walks up, and says, cheers, mate. You're like, wow, whoa. You don't expect the accent. Like when you look at Yordan Alvarez, you don't expect him to start spewing Spanish either, but he does. So I don't know. Ricky King says, I'm not for slavery, but the U.S. does not have slaves anymore. And the grandkids of the people that were stolen from Africa, if they weren't brought here, they wouldn't be here. And they wouldn't have the freedoms that we have in the United States. I don't ever see, and this is not directed towards black people, it's low-hanging fruit. It's the elephant in the room. You don't ever see, ever, a black person going, I want this country to buy me a ticket back to the motherland. I want to renounce my citizenship and move to Ethiopia. Go, bro.
Nobody does. The only ones who do that are Rosie O'Donnell, who has Trump derangement syndrome and want out of here.
Yeah, and she went to where, Ireland or somewhere?
I mean, the left is fighting so hard to keep criminals here who are being deported for being in this country illegally.
I think as much as I was concerned about the midterms, I think I'm seeing Hey, there's your brother, Corey. Good morning, buddy. I think we're seeing a swing of the pendulum back, and maybe just in time, where people are saying, like I've said, look, I could sit in a room with Ken Paxton, and I would. I would ask him, what's the deal, man? Are you a crook? Are you? I would. I would ask him, are you a criminal? Because there's enough.
He'd say no with a smirk.
But there's enough smoke around him. He did settle a deal that involved the SEC years ago. I mean, that people act like it was last week that Ken Paxton was involved in some kind of a shady business deal. He never admitted he did anything wrong. I don't know enough to know if he did or not. It's the propensity of the evidence I've seen insinuates that, again, there was so much smoke, there had to be an ember in there somewhere. But if anybody could find and exploit a loophole, it would be, a very well-versed attorney. So I don't judge him in that regard, but I can tell you that as much as I voted for Ken Paxton, I voted against James Tallarico. And if you don't get up and go vote for Ken Paxton in this upcoming election, I don't care what you think about Ken Paxton as a man at all. He won't be the only turd in the DC punch bowl. You need to find a way to vote against this very lightly veiled communist known as James Tallarico, who's all he's done. You think about this, Ash, he's got no agenda. And all he's done since he started running is walk back all the things he said. Our own AJ Louderback reported the other day, James Tallarico is handcuffed to his record. And his record indicates a leftist. And by the way, I did not know this. Did you know that he's only really recently been a seminary student? It's not like he was a lifelong pastor who decided to get into politics. This guy is on the lunatic fringe. Greg Garcia says colonization was a worldwide phenomenon. Slaves ended up in North America because they were sold to Europeans by their own people. That is so true. You talk about oligarchs. The black guy that rounded up the black guys to sell them, that guy was an oligarch.
Well, here's part of the problem, too, though. They completely forget that Native Americans were colonizing this continent, and they were enslaving their own people.
Absolutely. And blacks.
And we completely, and whites were moving westward across the country. But even before that, we completely ignore the barbarianism and the wars that went on between tribes, and the land grabs, and the slavery and the raping of women and the colonization.
They were savage people.
They were doing so were we. They were doing the exact same
Not
thing.
really.
They were doing the exact same thing that anybody else that was trying to colonize and take over the world was doing at that time. They just weren't crossing oceans to do it. That's
except that white settlers, European settlers, were not like the Comanches. This area is just loaded with American history. But the Comanche tribe was huge, great on horses, and really proficient in our area. They would scalp a white woman while she was alive. Now, the settlers weren't doing that
they were just shooting them to kill them.
Right, which is much more humane. Right. Lynn Chris says, unfortunately, what we see here in the South is not happening at all up north. The communist left is going strong up there. Yeah, you're always going to find a group of people who want to get something for free or at someone else's expense. And they, unfortunately, now are called Democrats. It used to be when my ancestors came here from Ireland back in the day, you came here legally, you went through Ellis Island, you got your paperwork, and they said, good luck. Welcome to America. We give you an opportunity. We're all equal. Go get them. They didn't give you a cell phone, guarantee you an apartment, give you SNAP. It just didn't happen. And it shouldn't happen. And I'm at the point where, well, you can't just let them starve. They won't starve. People get hungry, they'll work. That's what happens. Patrick Strauss says the left will blindly vote for him, talking about Telefrico. So I'll go right here. Peter McNally. He has a good plan for border security endorsed by sheriffs and immigration. Check it out.
Telerico?
What's he saying? Telerico. We don't need his plan. Donald Trump spoke the border into security. And I'd like to know which sheriffs are endorsing James Telerico. I just don't see any law enforcement. Cody, Google up law enforcement endorsing James Telerico. The dude is a dweezil. There's no redeeming quality to his public service. Wendy Hughes Garcia says, good morning from Highway 59 North, headed to the airport. Y'all are going to be big in Guatemala next week. Great. I hope you check in. Yeah.
Here's the problem with Telerico. He would have to craft legislation that would be enacted and voted upon to become border policy.
He's not going to do that.
Well, no, but that's not what he does as a senator.
And so here's the deal. When the American settler started moving west and encountered folks like the Native Americans who here's the deal. I don't blame them for fighting to protect the land that had always been theirs. But I also don't blame the settlers for being told by the United States, if you go west and you can settle it, you can own it. Those people fought and died, their own little militias of their families. And you know what? If you want to get to it that way, the Indians should have fought harder. It's the way it is. That's the way it is.
I'm not finding anything in the first 3 pages of a Google search about anyone endorsing him that's law enforcement.
Right. I agree. That's right. Irish Stephanie Connie says, whatever, we didn't need a new president to follow our already in the books laws.
Well,
his administration.
Here's Telerico's border policy. This is straight off his website, jamestellerico.com. Our border should be like a front porch. It should have a welcome mat out front and a lock.
Just stop. Stop right there. That's not true. I don't agree with that at all. Our border should not be a welcome mat. This romanticism of bring us your tired, your huddled masses yearning to be free. That's fine. I'm all for it. We do it to the tune of 1 million people a year legally.
We should be cracking down on the cartels, not our communities. We should be deporting gang members, not small business owners. You know what? They broke the law getting here. They have no right to be here. We should be hunting down human traffickers, not moms and babies.
But I think you could go after the small business owner after you get all the gang members. That would be my thought.
Well, but right now they don't even want you to go after the gang members. They just want anybody who is here illegally to stay here. I mean, look at the stories of the ones that they're just letting back out into the world after being arrested.
Yeah, Lisa Poole points out
rapists and murderers.
Lisa Poole points out that Cody finds nothing, even though Google is a liberal website. Greg Garcia says a border is where bad ideas end and good ideas begin. And there you go. If you support Telerico, that's exactly why to vote against him. I'll tell you, I'm curious about this. I want to see what you folks think about this before we take our first break, which is imminent. The state of Georgia, a state of Tennessee, I think, or Kentucky, their electric provider, the largest one, froze people's rates for the next 5 years to alleviate the fear of their power going up over data centers. But the state of Georgia, and I listened to it twice yesterday, President Trump reported, and there were representatives there from the state of Georgia, that Google's data center is massive enough that the payments that they will make to the state of Georgia are allowing the state of Georgia to eliminate property taxes. Now, if you are conflicted because, you know, you're such a liberal, you can't decide which way, what can I be most upset about? If you don't go out into West Texas on some of that public land and build a huge data center powered by maybe a nuclear power plant out there in the middle of nowhere, if you don't do that and use the revenue that you get to alleviate some of the taxes on the Texas taxpayer, I think it's just the most backwards thinking ever in the history of the world. Because the data centers aren't going away. They're just going elsewhere. We've got desert out there that could handle that. You'd never think twice about it. You'd never see it. You'd never know it was there. If a data center hums in a forest and no one is there to hear it, is it humming? That would be my question.
Yeah, I did a little research on this last night, and I couldn't find. Republican lawmakers in Georgia back in January proposed a law or a plan that would reduce significantly property taxes by 2032 on their primary residence, or eliminate it completely. And it was through sales tax increases as well as fees and assessments for specific services. There was nothing in there tying it to Google's data center.
That's how quickly
this predated this is.
That's how quickly this has evolved. Zed Stewart, correct. He says Texas doesn't have public land. You are right, sir. Texas has millions of acres of state-owned land, that the state owns the land. Ricky King says the biggest misconception about data centers is they use so much water. A data center uses less water than the average golf course does in a year's time. Are we going to shut down golf courses next? Shh, probably. There are a lot of leftists. I've never known a true leftist that could play golf very well. So as a result, there is a chance they would shut it down. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. And watch this seamless transition. Boom, just like that. Went Services. Went is hiring. You want to learn how to do a turnkey installation on a Generac generator, American-made product right here in the middle of storm season? They're busy. They're thriving. They're paying top wages. If you're a licensed electrician and you're tired of working for the man, go work for Went. Went will hire you. Par Vita Wellness and the Vita Cafe this weekend. Come in for the Vita Cafe brunch, and don't forget to get into Par Vita for your meals. You will be thrilled with the meals you can get there that are pre-made. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Zed Stewart points out Texas is 97% private. Yes, but that 3% is millions of acres. Allen's Wrecker Service, your go-to tow-to. If you end up in a ditch, if you end up on the side of the road, Allen's will come to you. They'll put out the cones. They'll strike the flares. They will help you. They will calm you. There's nothing too big or too small for them. Everything from jumping your dead battery to rolling over your 18-wheeler with a 75-ton crane. The pros, the drivers on the big rigs, they know Allen's Wrecker Service. White Wing Materials, 920 Sand. Reach out to Clayton Helt and his team, as they can give you top quality topsoil, weed-free topsoil. They can give you all different sizes and types of aggregate for your projects, and they have sand. I'm exploring, and Clayton and I have talked about this, but I just haven't had the courage yet to pull the trigger of kind of dethatching and sanding my yard. It works on the golf course. In theory, you You go and plug your yard. I would then, even though I don't need to, I would have the boys rake up, at least put them into the flower bed, all the plugs, and then you sand it, which gets into the holes that you just created with the plugs, and it allows your soil to expand, and which allows better water penetration. Anyway, White Wing Materials can explain that to you. First State Bank of Louise. Astros update is there ain't one. Astros didn't play yesterday. They're on the road. They play today, I think, somewhere. I think they're traveling. Astros winners of White Sox leading their division, I believe. But the Astros winners of 3 in a row. I'm telling you, they're going into Chicago and sweeping the White Sox. Remember, I told you that. It's what's going to happen. College football coming around the corner. I think all of your teams are practicing as we speak. It's that time of year. I don't know what
Cowboys are 3 weeks away from their first preseason game against Seattle.
Oklahoma State Cowboys?
No, Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys are getting ready to play football.
Yeah,
professional football.
On it. Couple of I think there was a kid for a receiver for Carolina yesterday. I saw a headline tore his ACL.
It's amazing the athletes have gotten so freakishly strong, and they're all so quick. It is amazing that there aren't more injuries. Brenner says the challenge for putting Davis.
There's too many now because these guys are overused. They train for one thing. Their bodies can't adapt when they have to move a way they've never moved.
Anderson says the challenge for putting data centers in West Texas is going to be needed water supply. I do think that was a major issue just as short as 2 years ago, but now these data centers are closed loop centers. You fill the radiator with water, you run it like you do a car, and they don't use water. They employ water. They don't. It's a closed system. They don't lose the water and constantly have to be replenished.
Well, there is some evaporation and there is some
but minuscule. It's like your truck. It's like your car. It's a similar deal. By the way, this time of year, if you haven't checked, and this is just a public service announcement, you should get by Atzenhofer and let them check your battery. It is so hot that it really is taxing on car batteries. If you and you just don't know until it fails. So it's best to go by and let them check it, and they can do so for you. What else you got, buddy?
I did a little fact checking, and there's no way Google's data center will cause Georgia to eliminate the property taxes.
There you go. So once again, President Trump, I guess, embellishing, but he said it, and there was a contingent there from Georgia. I listened to it twice to make sure that's what he said. But there was a contingent there from Cody. Are you fact checking Google Georgia sales tax or property taxes?
I can if you'd like me to.
See what you can dig up. I mean, I'm not disputing what Ash has found, but dig up, just Google Trump's comments on Georgia property taxes. That's
in fact, they're giving them tax exemptions to build there. So,
yeah,
maybe that's what he meant.
Yeah, Georgia's Google plant is no taxes. Yeah, it's called an abatement. No.
Yeah. But I truly believe this is the next wave of tech industry, and if we don't embrace it in Texas, we're going to be missing out. I think there's areas, again, the construction jobs come and the construction jobs go, and then you're left with the jobs behind. But I think if the U.S. continues to fight this, the Chinese will become the leaders in this technology and these data centers. And we already know what they did when they kicked us out of a partnership in the Wuhan. We know that they are behind, or I'm convinced they are the ones behind the election fraud in Venezuela. Not that Maduro didn't want to keep or Chavez didn't want to keep his job down there, and would have done whatever he could to throw the election, the Venezuelans didn't have the technology to manipulate the software. That was all on the Chinese, in my opinion. And the Chinese were the ones that wanted that done because they are the ones that are controlling most of the current 5G technology. They're leading the AI data center race. They're behind a lot of the hacking breaches that go on for data in this world. The Russians are too busy fighting a war now. They're not hacking anybody.
I wonder about. I think I have to avoid the hypocrisy that surrounds the fact that the U.S. has meddled in pretty much every foreign election over the last 50 years or more. So I can't hardly judge, and I don't know to what extent. I don't know if the CIA has literally stuffed ballot boxes in foreign countries or not, but I know that the U.S. is a leading propaganda spreader in other nations, and I still believe that quite often our nation literally assassinates people that they deem need to be assassinated. I just don't have any doubt about it.
We put Noriega in place. We put
Castro in place.
Pinochet in place, and
We put the Shaw in place.
Yeah.
We put Osama bin Laden in place. I mean, he was a CIA guy. Everybody, my dad always said that. Everybody we ever helped, they always turned on us. And I'm like, and it led him to be cynical yet accurate. Just because somebody's cynical doesn't mean they're wrong. He said, every ally we've got, we bought. He goes, in global geopolitics, you don't have friends, you have employees. It's just a fact. And, I don't know what we do with that. Yeah, I don't know. Let's stay on the subject. So I'm just at the point where I'm like, hey, I don't know how that ties into this, but 13 days in a row now, Donald Trump has hammered Iran at night. There is a wildfire in Spain. Somehow Donald Trump will be blamed. The whole idea. It's funny, the alarmists, the global warming, the climate change alarmists, you can't deny it. The science is there. I don't disagree. The science is there. And yet today, all the lakes are full. And those same people are belly aching about it rains so much. Takes a lot of rain to fill the lakes. That's what it is. But it's like, if you look at it as every 10 years, you're going to have a cycle of water going away, water coming back. By the way, anybody, anytime who has anything to share or ever wants to direct the conversation in any way, I will go anywhere you want to go anytime. You can call us at 361-894-4020. You can be petulant and childish, or you can simply pick up the phone. Put your mouth where your opposable thumbs are. I'm all about that. So anybody, Scott Tomko, you want to talk about something? I mean, hey, you want me to buzz your tower with that inside heater? I can still do it. It's 47 miles an hour now, but I can do it. Many a time I was in the back of about a 67, 89 Chevelle. Tomko had this car, Ash. It was a 4-speed, but it was a Chevelle. I think it had like a 327. It wasn't like really fast, but Scott drove it really fast. And of course, there were no seatbelts. I don't think anywhere in the car. And all I did was slide around on the black vinyl.
Probably a lap belt you forgot to put on.
Probably. I just slid around from side to side.
Speaking of data centers, Kevin yesterday released a statement saying that an East Texas data center has been withdrawn or withdrew after falling short of his standards.
It was a 70 with a 350.
It
It
was,
was fast.
there was a data center in Henderson County. And apparently, the builders or those who wanted it decided that the requirements that Governor Abbott put into place were just too much. So they'll go somewhere else.
Right. Is Abbott doing anything? I know he's okay. So the problem is we need the economic development. We need the growth, but we need it to be smart growth. So that's a thought. I don't know. I'm curious. I also want to change gears. I want to ask you one. Did you see this? And Cody typed this in. Meta Kids, like Medicare, but MEDIKIDS. Meta Kids is a new program. I think it's a senator that did this. I don't know.
Senator Andy Kim aims to provide universal health coverage for all U.S. children and young adults, eligibility through age 26.
Okay, so here's the deal. I don't have a problem with universal health care, taxpayer funded, if it's chosen by the people of a state. There simply is no place in the Constitution. You can't find it. It doesn't exist, that promotes the federal government providing anything that looks like universal anything to the country. It just doesn't exist. So, for example, you accept the military, that's it, protecting the Constitution and protecting certain inalienable rights. But you could say, like, let's say that tomorrow the state of Texas, it announced, guess what? If you live in our state and you're employed in our state and you're an American, we will provide at state expense. Wait, though, hear me out. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm saying it's the state's right to make that decision. You could use that as a tool to recruit families to come to Texas if you so chose. Much like the state of Texas and the state of Florida brag about, capitalize on not having state income taxes. That is a huge draw. A guy in California says, man, I'm making $500,000 a year, but it costs me $30,000 a month to live in this house. I could move to Texas. I got no state income taxes. The state made that decision, and it is a drawing card for our state. So
people don't move here strictly for no state income tax. They move here because they get a job or because of a job. Nobody shows up and goes, if you don't have an income, no state income tax doesn't matter.
Agree. Although we can agree to disagree on whether people move here because there's no taxes, because people move to Florida all the time over their taxation. So no doubt about it. I can show you all the Jews that went from New York to Florida because of taxes.
Retired people who already had a pipeline to Florida because that's where they have wintered forever. They're not picking up and moving to a state they're not familiar with. But because they're being overtaxed in New York. This is a recent phenomenon. They weren't leaving New York 10 years ago. They're leaving New York now because of the way they have overtaxed them, and Florida has made it more attractive. But people don't typically go, you know what, I think I'm just going to move here. If you're raising a family of 4, you're not just picking up and moving to a state because they have no income tax. It's not going to happen. You're going to move wherever you find a job or have a job or a job offer. Because if the money's good enough, it doesn't matter.
That's a legitimate aside and clarification, but it's not really focusing on the point that I was making, which is that the federal government should not be instituting something called MediKids when that is a states' right issue. If a
And,
state
and most states already have it in chip.
do they?
And there's all, I think every state has some sort of health insurance for kids who are poor.
Yeah.
Part
Well,
of, I mean, your job offer, your benefits for most jobs involve health care. Some companies pick up the entire tab, others force that premium onto the employer or the employee.
Right.
But
Somebody's going to pay for it.
yeah, but and here's the other problem I have with this and this is just first blush after listening to Cody. Since when the hell are kids 26 years old?
No, they're not
Right.
more. No, when you turn 18, all that stuff ought to stop. Yeah, that ought to stop. So I don't understand.
And if we have uniform health care for all kids, does this become like Canada in the sense of like, oh, you broke your shoulder? Well, we'll get to you in 6 months.
And Bruce Woods is right on point. Universal health care is a direct step to socialism and then communism. And there are countries.
I think that's a stretch.
Healthcare. I don't think so.
But no, because communism and socialism happened first, and then they decide that the healthcare. Then they lie about the healthcare. Just look at Cuba; they've been claiming they've got great healthcare forever, and they don't. Their hospitals don't even have power. And when you see the pictures from inside their hospitals, they look like they've been bombed out in World War II. They don't have great healthcare. But the problem I have with it is somebody still has to pay for it.
That's right.
Regardless of where it's coming from. And
Stephanie Miller says, good morning from YLW. Kelowna,
British Columbia.
Kelowna, British Columbia. No longer YYC. BC means bring cash.
Yeah. Nice city, expensive to live. I bet you the average house cost for a house there is about $1 million.
Is that right? Well, that's where Stephanie Miller belongs.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just
Airbnb for $2,000 a night.
I've seen the outcomes of socialized medicine. You can't get care. There are very few doctors. There are even fewer specialists. You wait forever. They prioritize, if I've got stage 1 cancer, I can make an appointment to MD Anderson, I'm in.
Right.
If I have stage 4 cancer, I can go make an appointment at MD Anderson. I'm in. In Canada, they will prioritize you. Stage 4, you move to the front line. Stage 1, well, you know what? It's not moving that quickly, so you're going to wait.
Well, it's also somewhat of a, if you're not careful, it's like a merit-based deal, right? Like how old are you? Are you what value can you bring to society? It's not. We're not going to just replace your knee at 75 because it hurts. We're going to replace your knee at 45 if it lets you go back to work. Yep. Bruce Wood says, my dad always said, and this might explain a lot about Bruce, the only thing free in this world is an ass whooping. You just got to ask the right person. Everything else is going to cost you.
That's why he's in Thailand. He had to get past that arm of his dad.
That's right. Away from the long arm of the law.
Absolutely. He finally found a place his dad can't hit him.
Hey, let's take a quick break and come back. I want to, again, especially thank the Atzenhofer Studios for having us, and John Paul Hull and James Geets for providing this space at the suites, the offices at 205. They do a fantastic job. The lobby is gorgeous. It's a great place. When people come in to be on the program, they have a beautiful place to sit. It's an extremely well-appointed and nice facility. You should come check it out, and come check it out during the show and say hi to the literally tens of thousands of listeners. We're very proud to have you. Chesnick Furniture inviting you in this weekend. Chesnick and Love make house a home. See why you just always do better at Chesnick. Chesnick has everything from bedding to furniture to appliances to Ash. He went away. Accoutrement. I know French.
Ash.
Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. Get into Palace Bingo. Oh, I've got him in I took him out of the, he's out of
Uncle
the loop.
Ash, are you there?
He's out of the loop.
Oh,
Ash. Anyway, Palace Bingo inviting you to come in and play games and support 7 local charities. Palace Bingo gives away $500,000 a month. It may be $500,000 a week. I'm not exaggerating. I don't know. It's big. It's awesome. Veracruz Restaurant, come on in today. Chicken Fried Friday. This is the last day of the week for Veracruz. Get in today and enjoy. You will be thrilled.
Are you just going to leave him out of the show?
No, I'm
Are
going to
we
bring him
done
back.
with him?
No, we could be. It would be so much fun. But we're not going to do that because we love Ash. And Ash is back just like that. USA Foundation Repair, USA Concrete Coatings. I talked to a guy the other day, bought a house, had a new pool. He said, I'm going to have to put tile around the coping of my pool. And I said, you know what? You may do that, but he goes, I'm going to tear it all out and redo it. And I said, instead of doing that, why don't you just call USA and let them hook you up? And he's going to give him a call. That's 578-HOME. Charlie Garcia, the singing cowboy, will come out and do it. He's the George Strait of polyurethane. He's great. Ash, what do you have to share?
Well, Stephanie Miller says people are going to other countries for surgeries quicker and cheaper. That's the byproduct of socialized medicine.
Well, you know the answer, right? Quick, cheap, or good. Pick two. You can pick two. It can be cheap and good, but it won't be quick. It can be cheap and quick, but it won't be good. I'm not trusting
Funny thing is,
my hip to Mexico.
See, you would be a fool not to.
I've been called worse by better people.
I know people here who've had several knee surgeries because they can't get it right on the replacement. Right?
Yeah.
But again, there's two healthcare systems in Mexico. There's the public and the private. And the private system down there is very good. And it's pennies on the dollar to what you spend in this country.
Right. It's true. Well, because they're willing to do things for cash. I've got a buddy in the Valley. I may have mentioned this yesterday about the walker. Did I tell you about the walker? He orders a walker. It's the one that has the wheels on the front. You put the tennis balls on the back, and it folds. $32.95 is what it costs him. It's aluminum. It's got two ball bearing wheels, and you put the tennis balls under it, and then Granddad can get down to the toilet. $32.95. He bills Medicaid. $95 for that. In theory, when Medicaid finally cut him a check, it was for $11.25. He's in the thing for $32.95. Medicare or Medicaid, whichever one it was, cut him a check for $11.25. If he wants the $95, he's supposed to collect the balance, the $78.75 from the recipient of the walker, which would be great. But they don't have any money. And they're like, I'm not paying you. I've got Medicaid.
Well, why would you pay why would you pay another $70 for a walker that you could buy for $32?
Because I'm not sure, I don't know this, but I'm not sure you can buy it for $32. But I'm just trying to figure out why they don't. The government needs to at least, if you're going to have a Medicaid program, you at least need to have enough reimbursement that the guy that's selling it and putting it together and delivering it and showing you how to use it, whatever that part may be, that he at least gets reimbursed.
$32 in a go-kart engine. We got options here, folks.
There you go.
I didn't know it was that cheap.
We can do it. Folks,
if you need to be tutored how to use a walker, you probably shouldn't be walking anymore.
Well, I tell you what, I see people driving every day, and I think that what leads to people having handicap stickers on their cars is the fact that they are terrible drivers. If you drive around and you're not a disabled war veteran, if you drive around in our community and you've got that little wheelchair on your car, please examine your basic driving skills, because those people are very, very dangerous. Junior says, I've got a brand new walker for sale for $25 just for you.
John Anderson, just to address the hurricane, Tropical Storm Bertha is no more. And from what it sounds like, Victoria did not get much rain.
Yeah, we got spit on and that was it. Folks, it's the top of the hour. We wish you nothing but a glorious and happy weekend. Ash, I bid thee farewell. Call me whence thou'st arrival.
Sounds good.
Hey, bye, bro. Hey, folks. Bye. Later. Have a good weekend.